Guys, very often people think that the Old Testament scriptures and things are irrelevant, that they're null and void, and it's not true. By the grace of God, he sent his only son to die for us, Jesus Christ. And thank God for salvation, the remission of sins. Thank God that we have the grace and mercy of God. We're not being struck down, dead, like how it was back in the days. Many of us would not be here today. The world will be empty, really. And but the Old Testament is still very relevant. It is a foundation of a lot of what we see in the New Testament. And so I always encourage people to read it. I'm reading it page by page. Some chapters are harder to read than others, especially when you're in Chronicles. It's like, skip it, but I'm not. So, but you'll see how it's relevant, guys. But the reason why I want to get here is because I want to invite you all to read Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28 is lengthy. There are 68 verses here, but it is an eye-opener. It is an eye-opener. Because sometimes, my brothers and sisters, there are things that's happening to people that we may know. It may have happened to you, to me, right? We've experienced things. Because when you disobey God, you open up yourself to something else. People go, God, how could you know when you disobey God? People keep forgetting that there is darkness in this world. There's evil in this world. What you find people want God to do is to hold back the evil so I can do evil. All right, come on. Guys, God is not going to do that, okay? You can choose. So God, keep me from the evil I want to indulge in every now and then. Lord, I want to go beyond that fence that says keep out, beware of dog. I want to go in beyond that fence to get what I want, but I want you to hold the dog. I want you to keep the dog on the leash. A lot of times, you know, we've reduced the Lord to the handyman, the maintenance man, and, you know, top flight security. And that's not what he is. He is God. He is sovereign, guys. He loves us. He's merciful. He loves us so much. But I think we tend to take advantage, take certain things for granted. I know that I used to. And, you know, God has just... He continues to show me more and more of who he is, and my desires that even though I don't know everything, I desire to get closer to God and that he will transform me so that I do not take him for granted. So guys, keeping to the time here, I want you to go and read Deuteronomy 28, and it talks about the blessings and the things that will occur when we obey God. It talks about the curses, the ramifications of disobedience, guys. And you're going to see some stuff in here that we read about and we see people experiencing now. And so, guys, you have to check that out. It ties back into the scripture. I mean, into what I'm trying to say here. Guys, sometimes some things that people are going through, whether they may have lost their family, they may be homeless, something may have gone on, they lost their house. Not in all cases of homelessness, okay? Certain things happen to people because, oh my gosh, I have a heart for the homeless. I will turn my car around to get them. But I'm saying there's some cases where people may have lost their home, other cases where certain things have happened and people are in this place, and you go and you help that person. You go and you bring that person into your home. You go and you give that person a job, right? The person lost their job, or someone tells you something about this person that needs some help, and you are quick in your heart, right? Because you love people. You're quick to go give this person a job. You're quick to give this person a place to stay. And maybe it's not in your house. Maybe you have some property and you say, hey, you guys can stay here and get your stuff together. And what do you find happens? You will find that whether you're giving them a job, you've let them in your home, or you let them stay somewhere for free, and you are giving them all the resources to get better, that this person becomes exacerbated in your life. This person begins to burst in your life. They just burst. That's my word. When something bursts, what happened? It goes all over the place. It gets on the wall. You're trying to figure out. It's ground in stains. It's all over. It's hard to clean, right? When something just explodes in your life. Why? You didn't check with God first. The fruit of the Spirit, the fruits of the Spirit that's in us, my brothers and sisters, the things that you must keep with you always, with all the fruits of the Spirit, is what? You must have wisdom, you must have knowledge, you must have discretion, right? You must have understanding. You must be led by these spirits so that you can weigh the matter and not just make hasty decisions based on how you feel. You understand that, because you're going to find yourself in situations you should not be in. Sometimes, how is it, my brothers and sisters, that these people that said they needed help, they were crying, all this was going on, they had the baby with them, they had the kids with them, and you give them a clean slate, an opportunity to start fresh. They don't have to pay any rent, you know, that they just come in, or, you know, they don't have to pay rent. You're looking out for them. You let them borrow your car. Some of you, you've done that. The person's car breaks down, something happens. You have an extra car. You let the person use a car, but the person takes the car and they're going all over the place and they're ruining the car and they're doing this and they can't do that. Or you're making the car payments for them because they're having a hard time. All they have to do is just maintain the insurance. And because maybe it's an older car, the insurance is only $50, but they won't do that. They're not keeping up with that. They're not doing the right things. They're breaking the car, they're wrecking the car, the car is junky, they do all these different things, they're messing up the place that you've given them, they're messing up in your home, they're causing problems and issue in your house. You bring them, you give them a job and you're willing to train them, but they're showing up late, they're giving you a hard time, they're causing problems on the job. Why? Because this person was cursed. This is a person, sometimes, guys, there are people who are walking in the disobedience of God, and the situations that they are in is a result of their disobedience. And they're going through a learning process, but you bring them in. God is trying to show them something, right? Listen, what God does, God doesn't make you get poor, and he's not trying to hurt you. But what happens is people that disobey God and they do evil and they do wrong, they open themselves to the power of darkness. Okay? So what God does after he has warned and warned and warned and warned and given you grace and 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 grace, after a while he has to turn you over because he is a just God. So he turns you over, and then what happens to that individual, guys, is that what you may see happening to them, loss of job, all this. Why? Because the power of darkness is that what they are. They come to destroy you. So the things that they once had and were all puffed up about or felt comfortable in it because, hey, I'm sinning and getting away and I'm still prospering, suddenly things begin to fall apart. Well, this is a place where God has let them over to what they've been running after, and this is the payout. So you would see them and go, oh, you go to help them, but you didn't check with God. So that's when you bring this person into your house and all the stuff that I described start happening. They start being a problem in your house. Oh, they know about squatters' rights. You can't put me out while they're in your house doing all types of stuff. They learn, they get in your property and they mess up the place, that the house or the apartment complex or the condo you let them get in. They start doing all types of stuff and they start telling you about their rights, and you can't get them out. They destroy the car that you let them borrow and use. They're not paying the insurance. They're not showing up to work on time. Why? Because you looked at the person through the eyes of compassion, but you didn't use wisdom. You didn't use discernment. You didn't let God talk to you, right? And sometimes you speak for God. God said, did he? Because now you're trying to scrape the paint of this person's essence off the walls of your house. This person that has exploded and burst. And you have to realize that sometimes, guys, the things that people are going through, sometimes, I heard a brother say this just the other day. He said this, 2 things that you're going through, 2 reasons why you may go through trials and tribulations. One is just the Lord. This is the enemy is fighting you because when you're in obedience and you're in alliance with the Lord. And there are trials and tribulation you will go through because the enemy is going to come against you to try to take you off course of where God is taking you. But through that, you're going to have the peace of God. You're going to be able to, you're going to be able to remember the words of God and keep going. Sometimes you're going through trials and tribulations for righteousness' sake and for the sake of the word and for the sake of the promise. You're going to go through some stuff and God's going to take you through that. The other times you will go through hard and difficult times is when you're in disobedience. When you're in disobedience to God, stuff starts to happen, guys. So my brothers and sisters, sometimes people are going through things when there's loss, when there seems to be just a pestilence in their life, trials and tribulations, things are just hitting. My brothers and sisters, do not be so quick to just say, come on over. You need to pray. You need to seek God about things, because sometimes, guys, haven't we read about it? People who open their homes to someone and it was a disaster. You may have some horror stories about things that have happened. You may have some horror stories about people that you gave them a job, or you spoke to someone, you spoke to your supervisor, and because you were a good worker, even though you didn't really know the person, you just knew their situation, the supervisor gave them a chance and an opportunity based on your merit. And so this person comes on and now they're showing up late and causing problems. And the supervisor's looking at you like, what have you done? Guys, there's sometimes certain situations that people will go through based on the fact that they have disobeyed the Lord. And when they have disobeyed God, this is not something that you can intervene in. This is not something you're supposed to reach out your hand and bring them out and bring them in, because they bring the pestilence and the curses with them in your house and on your job and in your property. Because the person, see, they'll have a story and they'll tell you all that happened to them. But you will find that here they are in your space doing the same thing to you or worse. You're the problem. And sometimes because you've had them around, your family and your friends, they begin to cause problems by telling people things about you. They won't clean, they won't cook, they won't do certain things, they won't help out or whatever. They don't clean up after themselves. And when you're trying to correct them and just saying, hey, I need you to pick up after yourself. You can't just lay on my couch all day long, you know, food all over the place. They just laid out on the couch and all this stuff and being disrespectful, making people uncomfortable. But when they go and tell other people, oh, they're going to tell them a whole different story. Why, my brothers and sisters? Because the person they are a disobedient being. They disobey and they go against God. So when they're crying and they're teary-eyed, or somebody from the church is telling you a sob story about someone, you need to seek the Lord, seek him thoroughly, and see what he says and follow his instructions, regardless of what people will tell you. Sometimes, yes, we can be a blessing, but you must know, am I supposed to be doing anything here? Because sometimes people are going through things based on their own disobedience to the Lord. And you reaching out your hand, you bringing them in your home, you bringing them in your space is why you are now experiencing the things that you're experiencing. Sometimes people are where they are based on their reluctance to obey the Lord, to follow his principles. Okay? And so you need to know the difference. Wisdom, understanding, knowledge, discernment is key in addition to the fruits of the Spirit. All right, guys, I hope this makes sense. Please take the time to read Deuteronomy 28. You're going to be surprised what is there, but it's going to be an eye-opener for you. All right? Bye.